What is up, PreMed stars? Dr. Dale, the author of How to Raise a Doctor, and of course, the author of PreMed Mondays. Don't have a copy? You can find it on Amazon.com. And you are listening to the PreMed Mondays Mentoring Podcast. So this week's going to be a critical lesson. We're talking about 5 ways to maximize self-study. Something a lot of pre-meds do not think about, but if you can figure this out, it will do you wonders from this day forward. Check it out. Happy Monday, PreMed star. Man, I am so happy today. So happy. I'm going to tell you guys, one of the best things, what we do and what we do at PreMed Star, and we put our heart into this stuff. So you guys might not realize how much time, effort, thought goes into maintaining PreMed Star, communicating with you guys one-on-one, the blogs, the podcasts, the webinars, all this stuff. We put a lot of work into this. And the best reward we get, one of the best things that ever happens is when students send that message that says, "Hey, Dr. Dale, I got in." And I got the first one of this application season this week, yesterday on Sunday. I got the very first one of the application season yesterday. And this one means so much to me because this individual has been a PreMed Star member for years. And this individual has been such a great student and going so hard. And there have been ups and downs for this individual and, times of, can I do it? Can I not do it? And, struggles here and there. But when I got it yesterday that says, "Dr. Dale, thank you." And it was a very nice, long message. Thank you for all this and all that. I got accepted to medical school. Man, I'll tell you, literally, no joke. I was sitting in church and it was a little downtime. And I checked my message when the PreMed Star message came through, and I checked it. I read it and I literally got teary-eyed. Literally, I got teary-eyed reading this. And that's what it's about. You guys have to understand how much this stuff means to us. To see you guys actually make it. It's not like we're just doing PreMed Star for fun. And hey, this is great. It is fun. I enjoy it. But it's meaningful. And when we get these messages like that saying, "Hey, thank you," the messages you sent to me were important. The posts you guys write are so important. When people send these messages, and it's one thing, it lets me know, makes me happy. Hey, people are reading and people are doing all the stuff that we put out and you're taking heed to it. But it makes me feel so good because you've worked so hard and you've stuck in there and you got in, you got accepted. So, yesterday was a teary-eyed morning for me, and because it means a lot to us. And our goal is to see you guys get there. And when we can see individuals like this one go from, the struggle and almost wanted to give up and things of that sort, and sticking with it and pushing through and just sending a letter saying, "Hey, thank you for PreMed Star." It means a lot. So to that individual, thank you. Thank you for sticking with PreMed Star these years. Thank you for being such an excellent member, such an excellent, dedicated student. And thank you for being great. You're going to be a great doctor. You know who you are. You are going to be a great doctor. All right. So getting into this week, we're talking about 5 ways to maximize self-study. This is something that most PreMeds don't really think about. A lot of people don't take the time to say, "Okay, how can I be better?" This is personal development. Take the time to analyze. Take the time to study your studying habits. Think about that one, right? Take the time to study your studying habits. That could do wonders for you. A lot of people don't do these things. People talk about self-help. Oh, that's nonsense. You don't need to read self-help books. I'm going to tell you, I read a lot of self-help books. I read a lot of leadership books, right? I spend time doing a lot of that stuff to improve myself. I try to figure out how I best learn. And that's what I'm encouraging you guys to do here on this episode. Figure out how you learn. So I'm going to give you 5 tips to maximize your self-study, all right? And it's critical for not just to get the grades, because people might think, "Oh, I already make good grades." But it's not just about the grades. If you make good grades, but you're expending a lot of energy to do that, that's great. But what if I told you, hey, you can get those same grades with half the work or in an efficient manner? Work smarter, not always harder. You got to work hard. Don't get me wrong. Work hard. But what if you worked a little bit smarter and it helped you out? You would want that, wouldn't you? So that's what this is about. How do you maximize your self-study? Because if you can figure that out, what that does is that frees up time for you to do other things that you want to do, right? If you're spending less time studying, that lets you spend more time in the research lab or shadowing or being a leader in X, Y, Z, whatever you're doing. So let's get into it. All right. So number 1, Always, always, always read ahead. This right here might be the biggest one that's going to set you apart from everybody else. Read ahead. If you read ahead, when you get to class, the stuff you're seeing in class is like a review for you. It's not new and it all makes sense, or it might not all make sense, but a whole lot more of it will make sense for you than it is for the other students. I'm going to say it again, a whole lot more of it will make sense for you than it does for the other students, all right? So read ahead. When you get to class, you're like, oh yeah, I read about this last night. I already get it, already makes sense. And I'm sitting in class now, and this is feeling like review. It feels like review because you've already gone through the course. You've already gone through the material. You understand it already. It's like me. I'm a lung doctor. It's like me going to a med school class and sitting in on a lung lecture. For me, that's cake because it's what I do all the time. I read about lung stuff, right? So if you're going into a class and you got glycolysis coming up on a lecture tomorrow, and if you read about it tonight, it's going to be much easier for you tomorrow. Read ahead. It takes discipline. It takes consistency. You have to sit down, force yourself to do it. But if you do it, the dividends it pays off are amazing. All right? They're amazing. And no excuse to say, oh, I didn't know what was going to be the topic. Hey, nowadays you have a syllabus. Syllabuses are available months, weeks before the lectures come up. And if you don't have a syllabus, ask the teacher to tell you what's going to be coming up, all right? Read ahead, read ahead, read ahead. Number two is one that's becoming less common in the day and age of technology. Number two is go to class. All right. I get it. You've got webinars, you got videos, everything is streamed. You got people taking notes for you. You don't have to be in class. I understand that. You don't have to be in class, but that doesn't mean that going to class isn't going to be beneficial for you. And think about it this way. Your professors go to class. Your professors are there, assuming it's not an online class. It's a live in-person class. Your professors are there, so why can't you be there? Your professors wake up at 8 a.m. to get to class. Why can't you wake up? So think about it that way. My teacher is going to be there. I should be there. If nothing else, out of respect for your professor, you should be there in that class. That aside, being in class helps you out tremendously. Of course, learning there in person, there's nothing quite like it. Nothing quite like sitting there with somebody while they're teaching you. As much as you may or may not like listen to me on this podcast, if you were sitting right here in my studio with me right now, you would get so much more out of this than just listening to it. Because you can see me, you can hear my voice echoing off the walls, you can hear the intonations of my voice a little bit better. You can feel my energy. Like right now, I'm not sure if my energy is coming across this microphone to you, but if you're here in my office, you will be able to feel the energy that I'm putting out to convey this message to you guys. And that's the same for when you're in class. You get the professor's energy. You get the class's energy, right? And sometimes the professor gives you guys little tips, extra credit, things that he or she might not say otherwise. Going to class is essential. And the other part about going to class is it's kind of like studying. If you read the night before, when you're sitting in class, it's kind of like a review. You're just studying some more. That's all that is. So I understand you have videos, you have all those things that make it easier for you to get that information. But, take heed to this. Being there in class is good. At the very least, it'll probably help the professor form a better relationship with you. So when it comes time for rec letters, it'll be easier for you to get a strong and excellent rec letter. All right. Go to class. Number 3, review each day's lesson that night. So you go to class. So check it out here. This is what we're doing. Okay. The night before, you read what you're going to learn in class. The day of, you go to class. The night of class, review the lessons in class. If you can get in that strategy, get in that habit, get in that cycle, things will be so much easier for you. You have to make a pattern. You make a routine so it doesn't feel like it's that hard. When you do that, it becomes just what you do. It becomes your norm. It's not like, oh, I have to go down and read some more tonight. No, this is what you do. So it's your habit. It becomes part of who you are, your routine, okay? And people who do things routine, on rhythm, on beat, right? Life has a rhythm. I was watching one of my physician buddies. We went to a football game with him last night, and he told me how to watch this deal with T.D. Jakes and Steve Furtick. They're both pastors, and Furtick was interviewing T.D. Jakes, and T.D. Jakes, they talk about the cost of hesitation. And then one of the things T.D. Jakes talks about is life has a rhythm, and he talks about there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm to life, right? And when you can get on rhythm, get in that cycle, things come natural to you. So you want to turn your life into a rhythm. You need to get the rhythm of your life. And that keeps you consistent. And when you're consistent, it pays crazy dividends. I do leadership training with the John Maxwell team, which is probably the best leadership training organization in the world. And one of the things that John Maxwell talks about is this whole idea of one of the most significant things in success is the power of compounding consistency. Compounding consistency. So you think about money, right? You might have heard the term of compounding interest. The whole idea of compounding interest means a lot of you guys right now are much younger than I am. I'm 34 years old. A lot of you guys listening to this are between 18 and maybe 25, maybe a little bit older for some of you guys. But if you guys invest $1 today, that $1 is going to be worth a whole lot more for you when you're 65 than for me at 34 if I invest $1 today. That's because of compounding interest. You have more time to let your interest grow. And John Maxwell talks about this whole idea of if you're consistent, you'll be surprised by the compounding interest of you being consistent. You'll be surprised by how important that is, how much that's going to pay off for you, right? So I'm encouraging you, get in this consistent rhythm of read the night before, go to class, review the night of. Read the night before, go to class, review the night of. Consistent. That's going to pay off so much, right? So review the day's lesson that night, right? Number 4 is just exactly what I was talking about. Be disciplined and consistent. I pretty much just told you everything about it, but just to say a little bit more and codify it a little bit, have a schedule. Everything I just told you about rhythm and compounding consistency, that's about having a schedule, essentially. Write the schedule down. Make it official. Make it your schedule and be disciplined about sticking to it. Don't break it. Stick with it. And you might not see it on day 1, week 1, month 1, semester 1, but eventually it's going to pay off for you. You're going to look back and say, wow. I can tell you that because I'm living proof. A whole lot of doctors you guys shadow or work with are living proof of it, right? A lot of us did things like this. We had our schedule. We had our routine. We were on rhythm. We were consistent with it. We knew what we had to do. And now we're living the life that we planned for. We're living the life that we wanted. Okay? So be consistent. Read ahead. Go to class. Review each day's lesson that night. Be disciplined and stick to that schedule. And if you can do those 4 things, unless you get to number 5, which is take a study break. Take a study break. You have to have a break. Okay? So remember, I said you got to work smarter, not always harder. Work smarter, not harder. You have to strategize how you work hard for a given time period, being consistent, staying on rhythm. And then once you've done that, you have earned a study break. Hear what I said? You earned a study break. You don't just get a study break because you want a study break. You don't just, you're not entitled to a study break. You have to earn that study break. In order to earn a study break, that means you have to be studying. You have to have been studying. So if you can do those things, it's going to be so effective for you. So effective for you that you'll be surprised. It'll blow your mind. But here's the catch. And this is the catch with PreMed Mondays in general and my other book, How to Raise a Doctor, or anything. Anytime you have people who are giving out great information to other people to hear, here's the catch. The majority of you all listening to this aren't going to do it. Now, that might not be a fair statement because the people who actually listen to my PreMed Mondays podcast is a skewed population. Those of you who listen to this podcast, by default, most of you guys are already people who are probably overachieving because the mere fact that you're taking the time to listen to this podcast means that you're a serious student. So you're probably already on the track for success. But even with that said, and let's say if I put this out and other people get to hear it, the majority of people will not do it. And that's the difference between people who are excellent at what they do and those who aren't. There's a Pareto principle, or you might have heard it called the 80-20 principle. Probably 20% of people who hear this will actually do it. The other 80% won't take heed to it. And here's the deal. The 20% that do it will excel. 20% that do it will go on to be successful physicians or whatever else your heart desires for you to end up being. I tell people to read a lot. And people always look at me like I'm crazy because I spend a lot of time. I do tons of audiobooks and I have other books and things like that too. I spend a lot of time with audiobooks and people look at me like I'm crazy when they hear what I read. I tell people to read. And people say, oh yeah, I'm going to read that, but they never read it. And here's my perspective. This is my disposition on this. There are brilliant people across the world. I'm looking at my bookshelf right now. I've got great books written by great people, some of the world's greatest leaders. And they have sat down and taken the time to write down their best tidbits the best tokens of wisdom and guidance, to write it down in a book. They've taken the time to do that. And now that I've written some books, I know what that feels like. I know what it means to put your heart into writing something and giving your best piece of advice. Because you're not going to write a book and put nonsense in it. If you're taking the time to write the book, you're giving it your all. So these people take the time to give it their all to write their best wisdom in a book. Pick it up and read it. Learn from them. Pick the book up and read the book. And after you read it, actually try to do some of that stuff and see what it does for your life. So that's my encouragement for you for this week's chapter. I know it's hard. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But if you can do these 5 things, read ahead, go to class, review each day's lessons that night, be disciplined and consistent, and take some breaks. If you can do those things, it will pay off for you. But you got to connect it with everything else I'm telling you the other weeks. Last week we talked about tutoring. The week before that we talked about making straight A's and things of that sort. So every week you got to be able to put all this stuff together, okay? If you can do it, it's going to pay off for you and you will be happy when you reach your goal. All right. So that's what I've got for you guys for this week. Let me see what the challenge is. Give me 1 second. Let me flip through my pages here. All right. So this week's challenge is write down your study schedule. Very easy. We just talked about it. So, take 10 minutes and actually write down your study schedule. And if possible, take some breaks with your accountability buddy. Every now and then, maybe, once a week, once every other week, take a break and call your accountability buddy. Or if you guys are at the same institution, take a break, go grab dinner, go grab lunch, whatever. All right, so that's this week's assignment. Next week, we'll be talking about another one, which is critical, probably one of the most important topics and probably the topic. The single factors that I've seen, majority of pre-meds who haven't made it to med school that I've worked with, and I've worked with a lot of pre-meds, okay? The majority of ones that I've seen who haven't made it to med school don't make it because of what we're going to be talking about in week 17, believe in yourself. The majority of pre-meds who don't make it don't have the confidence for medical school. And I've seen it happen time and time again, so I can tell you that from my perspective. All right. So please subscribe to the podcast. Share it. Share it on Facebook. Just take the link, post it on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you're on, and send it to your pre-med club. Make sure your pre-med club is subscribed and they're all listening and getting this information. October 11th, we have our next webinar for Pre-Med Star. I'm going to put the link down below. And the webinar is going to be transitioning to medical school. So we're going to have Auburn Skakel, who's, most of you guys on Pre-Med Star already know Auburn. She was one of our stars over the past couple of years. She's a mentor now because she's a medical student, but she's going to be doing a webinar on transitioning to medical school. So she's a first-year med student. She's going to tell you what the transition was like from being a pre-med and how things are going in her first year of med school. This is perfect. You guys need to hear this, right? She's only a few months into medical school. You want to get the tips in terms of what do you need to do right when med school starts to be successful. So tune in for that webinar. The link is down below. If you haven't subscribed to the Pre-Med Voice, make sure you do that. If you missed last week's episode, you missed something nice. Check it out. It was a very deep episode. It was Curtis Mensah. He was talking about an experience of death. And, I'll tell you, it was very deep to think of pre-med, went through that, and just to hear how he breaks it down in his head. You'll appreciate it if you listen to it. He talks about dealing with death and how he handled it and the guilt and certain things that he felt with, how it affected him. So definitely check the Pre-Med Voice out as well. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Send me a message on Pre-Med Star. If you have any questions, I'm here to help you guys reach your goals. Love you guys, and I will see you on the site.